The Beef Market Update on RealAgriculture.com with Ann Wasco is brought to you by Haney Farms. Do you need seed? Find us at haneyfarms.com. It's time for another edition of the Beef Market Update on RealAgriculture.com with Ann Wasco with Gateway Livestock Exchange. Welcome today, Ann.
Hey, Sean.
Well, Ann, it's the dog days of summer. We're all halfway through summer almost. It's hard to believe it's going by way too fast. You having a good summer?
Yes, sure am.
How's haying going?
It's going along. Get the odd rain shower, but nobody around here complains about that.
My hay fever and sneezing is kicking in just thinking about it. But okay. So last Friday we had a USDA cattle on feed report. What did it tell us?
Well, a couple of things. No big surprises from a market perspective, how the market's reacting this morning. It was basically right on, bang on expectations. But what that means, Sean, is the July 1st U.S. feedlot inventory was down 3%, which is the same as what it was on June 1st. So it's kind of holding the same. Placements coming into yards, finishing yards in the month of June were down 5%, again, as expected. But I think one of the things that we've seen through the month of June is a considerable improvement in grazing country moisture conditions versus the last 2 years. Whereas the last 2 years in June, we had big placements in the month of June, especially of lighter weight cattle, as cattle were forced off pastures, if you remember. And this year, that's not the case. Yes, there's still some dry areas. Don't want to play that off too bad, but compared to the past 2 years, there's a much bigger, better moisture condition in cattle grazing country. So smaller placements.
Yeah, and so what does that tell us anything about the rest of the summer, or is this kind of lining up just to be better than last year?
Well, I think this is kind of probably what we'd call more normal versus the past two drought years that we've seen where we had extremely abnormal placement patterns. So this one's shaping up to be so far, and we'll see what happens in July. I mean, there's still some hot areas out there, but at the same time, areas in Texas last week got some big moisture in some key areas that haven't seen moisture in a long, long time. So all the time we're hearing about some better improvements on the moisture side. It probably means placements stay down a little bit longer till you get right into the fall run.
So something that's not normal is the heat that we're experiencing in the East. And I was in the East last week. We were in Quebec City, and it's hot. That has to be having some sort of impact on the consumption of beef.
Well, you're exactly right. And now you can put it in firsthand experience as to why we see normally in the summertime when it gets hot, prices of wholesale beef prices drop because it's tougher to move product in that exact environment. Consumers aren't looking for a big old steak or prime rib kind of deal. So we do see that happen, and that's exactly what's going on today. The cutout has come off quite a bit. Do you remember back in May we talked about the record high cutout of 211 on the choice cutout? Well, now it's under 190. So that's how much the market has changed from a wholesale price perspective. But it's pretty normal, Sean. I mean, we've gone from some big highs to, again, a normal decline so far. Now, you're going to say it didn't feel normal.
It wasn't normal. And you had to change your clothes twice a day. You were just soaking wet. Even the locals were complaining about how hot it was. And it's not the fact the temperature was some sort of record high. It's the fact it's so many days in a row. Right? There was sort of no escaping it. All you could do is try to find some air conditioning. And, you go to a restaurant and all everybody wanted was cold soup. Like the last thing you wanted was a big steak and a big glass of red wine. You're basically looking for some lemonade or maybe an ice cold beer and some cold soup to sort of cool you off a bit.
Okay, well, and again, that is going to be an issue, and we've run into those times like that before, where that is a tough time to sell beef, and we know that. So here we are, though. Like you said, we're halfway through summer, and as we get out past Labor Day, is when we start to see that return to demand for beef products again. So although you don't think it's very normal, so far from a pricing perspective, it kind of is.
Yeah, so we got a USDA cattle on feed report that tells us placements look more normal. We've got sort of the normal market trends in terms of the wholesale prices. Is this kind of shaping up to be a normal summer?
Well, right now it looks like it. I mean, we're still waiting cash. Let's talk about cash cattle market prices. U.S. of course topped back in the late spring, and they've just kind of come down over the last several weeks, trading 119 on cash cattle in the U.S. They were stuck there again last week. I think as we get July kind of behind us, which is usually when we make our lows, then you're going to start to see prices move higher as we go again through August and towards Labor Day. Here in Alberta and Saskatchewan, markets are, remember early June we made that record high 123, and markets still, according to Canfax average last week, still around 119. So the market hasn't come off a whole bunch here, partly because of that lower dollar, and partly because we also have smaller on-feed numbers as well.
Yeah, the pullback in the Canadian dollar really has, and the potential for bearish corn prices really has cattle feeders a little bit excited about the potential of fall.
Yeah, so there's another weather factor, right? We've got better moisture conditions, looking like we're going to have a bigger crop. We do need to get this through this critical pollination stage over the next few weeks in the U.S. But at the same time, assuming that that's the case, then we are looking at significantly larger crop and lower corn prices, therefore feed prices for cattle producers, and that's going to that'll be the biggest change vis-a-vis the last 2 years for cattle feeders in North America.
Anything this week, reporting wise, or any information or things that people should be looking out for this week?
It's pretty quiet. Now, what you're going to start to see as we get towards the 1st of August, you're going to start to see a little more interest and activity on pricing of these grass cattle coming off of grass in August and September. So, we already are hearing some better price levels out there for some forward deliveries. So the market is trying to forecast lower feed, higher cattle prices, and that will intensify. It's been very quiet, but it's going to intensify, and you're going to hear a lot more over the next few weeks. So keep your ears open on the feeder market. It's shaping off to be in a much better start than a year ago.
Sounds good, Ann. And like always, we will talk to you very soon again.
Okay, sounds good, Sean.